If your blood pressure has been creeping up for the past year, and you've been told the only real answer is a pill you'll take every morning for the rest of your life, how confident are you that you actually understand what's driving those numbers up in the first place? Not what a rushed appointment told you, not the one line printed on a pamphlet. I mean, truly understand it. What's quietly raising your pressure day after day, which everyday habits are working against you without you ever noticing, and which changes can move that number down faster than almost anyone expects. Most people I talk to, smart people, careful people, people who manage their own homes and their own money, go quiet when I ask that question. And that silence tells me everything. Because here's the thing, high blood pressure isn't a mystery, and it isn't a permanent sentence. It's a living number that responds every single hour to how you eat, how you move, how you breathe, how you sleep, and how much stress you carry. And yet millions of people treat it as something completely out of their hands, waiting passively while it slowly climbs. Today, I'm going to change that. This channel exists for one reason, to give you the kind of clear, practical, honest health information that too often gets left out of a 10-minute doctor's appointment. By the time this video ends, you're going to understand exactly which changes lower blood pressure the fastest, which hidden habits are sabotaging you right now, and how to do all of it safely, even if you're already on medication. And I want to start with something that happened to a man named Frank, because his story sets up everything we need to talk about. Before we begin, take a second and tell me your name and where you're tuning in from. I go through the comments, and I genuinely want to know who I'm speaking to and supporting here. Frank was 68 years old, a sharp, methodical, retired postal carrier. He'd walked 5 miles a day for 30 years, and he assumed his heart was bulletproof because of it. So when a routine visit showed his blood pressure running 158/96, he was stunned. He said, "I'm not a soda drinker, I'm not lazy. How is this even possible?" That single question, and his assumption that there was nothing he could do about it, almost cost him a productive, healthy stretch of his life. Because what we found when we walked through his day hour by hour wasn't one big villain. It was a dozen small things he had never once thought about. The canned soup at lunch, because it was just soup. The salty crackers in the evening. The long walks he'd quietly stopped 2 winters ago and never restarted. The broken, restless sleep he'd accepted as normal. The low simmer of stress from caring for his wife after her surgery. None of those things felt dramatic. That's exactly why they were dangerous. But Frank didn't know that, because nobody had ever explained to him that blood pressure is built from dozens of small daily inputs, and that changing just a few of the right ones can move the number quickly. When Frank changed those few things, his pressure dropped 17 points in 11 days, not with a new prescription, with awareness and action. So let's go deeper, and let's start with the single fastest lever you have. The fastest change for most people is sodium, and I know you've heard cut your salt 1,000 times. But I don't think anyone has ever explained to you why it works so fast, or where the salt is actually hiding. Here's what actually happens, explained simply. Sodium pulls water. When you take in a lot of sodium, your body holds extra fluid to keep everything balanced. More fluid in your bloodstream means more volume pushing against your artery walls. More volume, more pressure. It's almost mechanical. So when you cut the sodium, your body releases some of that retained fluid, and the pressure inside the system comes down. For many people, that begins within days. Now here's the part that becomes genuinely tricky. The salt hurting you is almost never the shaker on your table. It's hiding in foods that don't even taste salty. Bread, deli meat, canned soup, frozen dinners, restaurant meals, sauces and condiments. That healthy turkey sandwich from the deli counter can carry more sodium than a large order of fries. The danger is invisible, and that's exactly why it works against you. So for the next week, become a label reader. Aim to keep most of your day under 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams, and you'll be stunned how fast a single processed item blows past that. Cook a little more at home, even simply. Rinse your canned beans. Pick the low-sodium version when one exists. You don't have to live on bland food. You just have to take the control back from the hidden salt. If you've ever been shocked by how much sodium is buried in a food you thought was healthy, drop a comment below. Have you ever caught a number on a label that made your jaw drop? You might be surprised how many people are discovering the exact same thing. Now let's talk about a lever that surprises people the most, because it works in the opposite direction. Potassium. While sodium raises pressure, potassium helps lower it. It relaxes your blood vessels and helps your body release excess sodium through the kidneys. So you're not just cutting the bad, you're adding the good, and the two work together. Leafy greens, sweet potatoes, beans, avocados, tomatoes, oranges, all of them are quietly on your side. But here, I need to draw a very clear line, because there's a detail in this that is not just a tip, it's a safety issue. If you take certain blood pressure medications, specifically ARBs like losartan, ACE inhibitors like lisinopril, or some water pills, your potassium has to be handled carefully, because some of those drugs already raise it. Loading up on potassium supplements or potassium-based salt substitutes on top of that can push your levels too high, and that affects the electrical system of the heart. Food-based potassium in normal amounts is wonderful for most people, but supplements and salt substitutes are a conversation you have with your doctor first, never a decision you make on your own. Awareness protects you. Guesswork doesn't. And if nobody has ever broken down blood pressure this clearly for you before, hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next could be just as important for you or someone you love. Now let's move to movement, and a danger I find particularly striking, because the problem isn't usually doing something wrong. It's doing nothing at all, and not realizing the cost. You already know exercise is good for blood pressure. What you may not know is that a single session of moderate movement can lower your pressure for hours afterward. It's called post-exercise hypotension, and it's real. A brisk 30-minute walk doesn't only help in the long run. It can drop your numbers that same day. But here's what's been hiding in plain sight, and they're doable even when your knees and hips aren't what they used to be. So get a daily walk back into your life, even 10 minutes to start. And if your doctor agrees it's safe for you, add a few short, gentle holds against a wall a few times a week. Just breathe normally through them. Never hold your breath while straining, and stop if anything feels wrong. If you or someone you know has slowly stopped moving the way they used to, drop a comment below. You might be surprised how many people quietly let that slip away, exactly like Frank did, without realizing what it was costing them. Now, let's talk about something that sounds small and isn't: your breath. When you're stressed, rushing, or holding tension, your body floods with signals that tighten your blood vessels and speed your heart, and your blood pressure rises in real time. Now imagine living in a low-grade version of that state for years, the way so many people do, never realizing it's quietly pushing your numbers up day after day. Here's the part that's almost counterintuitive. You can reverse a piece of that on command. Slow, deep breathing, where your exhale is longer than your inhale, signals your nervous system to settle. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, out gently through your mouth for a count of 6. 5 minutes of that, and for many people, blood pressure measurably drops during and after. It is one of the only tools that works within minutes, and it's always with you. Simple and powerful are not opposites. Don't dismiss it just because it costs nothing. Now I need to talk about 2 habits that may be silently undoing everything else you do, no matter how well you eat or how much you walk. The first is alcohol. I'm not here to lecture anyone, but the chemistry matters. Regular drinking, even what feels like a modest amount, raises blood pressure over time, and cutting back is one of the faster ways to see real movement. If you drink daily, even reducing it can produce a noticeable drop within a week or 2. The second is sleep, and this one is enormous. When you sleep poorly, when you wake again and again, when you snore loudly and gasp, your blood pressure never gets the nightly rest it's supposed to. Your body stays in a heightened state around the clock, and here's something I need every person watching to take seriously. Loud, chronic snoring with pauses in breathing can be a sign of sleep apnea, and untreated sleep apnea is one of the most common hidden drivers of stubborn high blood pressure I see. If that describes you, or the person sleeping next to you, please get it evaluated. Treating it can change everything. Has anyone ever told you that you snore loudly, or do you wake up tired no matter how long you slept? Drop a yes or no in the comments, because I have a feeling most of you are going to answer the same way. Now, and this is critically important, I need to draw another clear line, because there's a difference between a change you make calmly and a moment that is a genuine emergency. Everything I've shared so far, the sodium, the potassium, the movement, the breathing, the sleep, the alcohol, these are calm, deliberate changes you make over time. But if you ever have a blood pressure reading that is extremely high, along with chest pain, shortness of breath, a severe sudden headache, vision changes, weakness on one side of your body, trouble speaking, or confusion, that is not a lifestyle moment. You do not wait. You do not try a breathing exercise and see what happens. You call emergency services immediately. A high number by itself is one thing. A high number with those symptoms is something else entirely. The gap between those two is important. Please, burn it into your memory. Now let me address something that creates enormous, unnecessary anxiety and occasionally dangerous impulsive decisions for people managing blood pressure at home. Blood pressure is not a fixed number. It moves constantly throughout every hour of every day in response to dozens of variables. How well you slept, whether you had caffeine, if you're in pain, whether you're anxious about the reading itself, whether you just walked in from outside, or spoke loudly right before you sat down. A single high reading on a random Tuesday morning after poor sleep does not mean you've failed. A single low reading on a relaxed afternoon does not mean you've cured everything. What matters is the pattern over time, measured consistently. The same arm, the same time of day, after 5 minutes of quiet rest, feet flat, no rushing or talking. When people monitor inconsistently and react emotionally to single readings, the decisions that follow are almost never good ones. Panic over one number, frantic worry over a reading that, in context, was completely unremarkable. Monitor with a method, track over time, bring the log to your appointment. Let patterns, not panic, guide the conversation. That one shift reduces anxiety, improves decisions, and gives your doctor far more useful information than a single alarming screenshot from your home monitor. And if you've made it this far, and you're getting value from this, type the number 9 in the comments. It's a simple way to let me know you're here and following along. Now I have to say something important because I never want this video to put you in danger. Everything I've shared today is real, legitimate, and supported by evidence. And for some people, these changes reduce or even eliminate the need for medication over time. But that decision is never yours to make alone, and it is never made suddenly. If you're currently on blood pressure medication, do not stop it because you watched a video, even this one. Do not skip doses because your numbers looked good for a few days. These medications work through a steady, consistent presence in your body, not spikes and gaps. And stopping abruptly can let your pressure rebound dangerously. What you do instead is make these changes, track your numbers honestly, bring that log to your doctor, and let them guide any change to your medication based on real, sustained results. That is how people safely come down on their doses. Partnership, not impulse. So let's bring it home, the way Frank did. He didn't overhaul his whole life overnight. He cut the hidden sodium. He added the greens and the beans. He got his daily walk back. He added a few gentle wall holds. He practiced 5 minutes of slow breathing in the evening. He cut his nightly drink back to a couple of times a week. And he finally got his snoring looked at. Not all at once, one lever at a time. And in less than 2 weeks, his numbers told the story. That's the part I want you to walk away believing. Your body is not your enemy. It's responsive, it's listening. And the moment you start sending it better signals, it begins to answer, often faster than you'd ever expect. So pick one, just one thing we talked about today, and start it before you go to bed tonight. Then tell me in the comments which one you chose. I read them, I respond, and I genuinely want to cheer you on. And if this helped you understand your own body a little better, share it with one person you love who's quietly dealing with the same thing. You might be handing them exactly what they needed to hear.